All right, everyone. Hello, hello. Happy Monday. I hope you are all doing well. I am so excited to have my friend, Mike Harlow, joining us today. Not for good reasons, but it's still going to be nice to chat. Mikey, how are you doing?
Good. Well, I mean, how are any of us doing during like what feels like the end times?
Exactly. So I am God, so much we can talk about today. Oh my gosh.
How are you doing? How are you guys doing? Is anyone like decent?
Everyone's, I mean, like, I live in New Hampshire, man. Nothing's happening here. So we basically just sat around all weekend. But I'll tell you what, like, on a non-Twitter topic, I am so incredibly frustrated with my friends who think that all this is happening because of white supremacists.
Yeah.
Isn't it insane? Dude.
Okay.
Dude.
So this one guy, and like nothing against him, he's a lovely person. However, this one guy keeps like commenting on everything I post, every person who comments about any of this, saying like, oh, we'll blame the white supremacists. It's all white supremacists, and posting the same article. And if you read the article, it says that there's basically no evidence of that, just that they're investigating if some of the people arrested were white supremacists. So if and some.
Right. Well, and the thing of it is too, it's like, you know, I'm going to say people I know. I don't even know if these people are my friends anymore, but they're still on my Facebook for whatever reason, and so I still see their stuff. But like they post videos of people that are just like random people at a protest are saying that guy's a white supremacist, and it's like a guy wearing jeans and walking through a crowd. I'm like, how do you know he's a white supremacist? Like, if we're talking about someone from Antifa, you can clearly identify people in Antifa. Like, they dress a certain way. Anyone who has spent any time watching Antifa protests, you're like, you know, like, that's Antifa. And, like, I even got into an argument with someone, you know how Antifa, and I know this is not the topic of the live stream, guys, but I need a minute. Like, you know how Antifa uses umbrellas to block, like, what they're doing from cameras? So I had people I know posting people, like, with umbrellas saying, these are obviously white supremacists. Like, when have you ever seen a white supremacist use an umbrella at a protest? Like, it's ridiculous. And of course, like, you can't like rule out that I'm sure there are white supremacists that are out there actually very excited that this black man was killed horrifically. I'm sure they are, because that's what real white supremacists do. But you know what white supremacists are not going to do? They're not going to join forces with Black Lives Matter.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. No, and then they'll tell you on the same hand that it wasn't Antifa, but there are Antifa posts about it, and the whole evidence of them linking anything towards them even investigating if they're white supremacists was literally just a Facebook post.
Yeah, and I had friends too that were like, "Well, Carlin, is it Antifa or is it Black Bloc? Because those are two vastly different things." I was like,
are they?
No. But there are articles floating around on like Vice saying these are two drastically different things, and Antifa are a peaceful folk that just hate fashion.
Yeah.
Like, have you
they'll give you a brick of peace to the head.
Oh my God, these people. Oh, I hate everyone.
I love what you say. They're pod people.
They're pod people. All right, but let's talk about what we're actually here to talk about, Mikey.
God.
Wow, how did this happen? How did you get banned from Twitter again?
What
happened? What did you do?
Nothing. I don't know. It was really just out of nowhere. So yeah, I guess you guys know about stuff, but
let's take a step back here. So this is the second time you have been banned from Twitter.
Yeah.
But it relates to the first time. So for anyone new that does not know Mike does a lot of events with Walkaway, and so he's been on a lot of their LGBT panels, and you know, so he's out there. People know who he is, you know, and you were building an audience and you were growing pretty quickly, and you got banned from Twitter for the first time last year. Take us through that.
Yeah. So that was also out of nowhere when that happened. Even then, they couldn't point to anything that I had said. With that, it came the day after what was apparently International Pronoun Day. So, you know, you can imagine my opinions I had on Pronoun Day. So I was just like tweeting a bunch about that when it happened, but nothing that was anything but civil or whatever. So when that happened, I had posted the statistics about this supposed epidemic of transgender murders, which is totally false. And then the next day I was immediately banned. This was back like, when was it? I don't know, late last year. So then the next day I was immediately banned from Twitter. But I guess they don't want people to think that they don't want to, they like to claim that they don't censor people. So they didn't point to any of the things I had actually said. The same bullshit reason that they gave me then was evading a permanent suspension. And I think that's just a tactic that they use, because I've heard from so many people, oh, I got taken off Twitter because evading a permanent suspension. That's just the reason they use when they don't have anything that they can get you on.
So what does that even mean, evading permanent suspension?
I think, I'm not very sure, but I think that it means if they permanently ban you and you make a new account.
Yeah.
Which I never did. So many people said to me, oh, just make a new account. And I was like, no, I can't. I don't want to, I, believe it or not, don't want to violate their rules and give them any ammunition.
But this is the first time you've been banned. So how could you be evading a permanent suspension if you had never been banned before?
Thank you. Could you say that a little bit louder?
Okay, we'll say it again. How can you be evading a permanent suspension if you've never been banned before?
Who knows? But that's apparently just the tactic that they use. And with that, I kept at them, so they kept like giving me new reasons. Then a couple days later, they said I was managing multiple accounts for abusive purposes. I've never had another account. That's the only one I've ever had. I mean, that's so easy to check. You can check somebody's IP address, you know? And then a couple days later, they finally pointed to something that I said, where they found something where I was sarcastically defending someone, and I was like, oh my God, burn the witch. And so because of that, they said that was my targeted harassment.
Yeah. And you proceeded to spend the next several months fighting this until they finally relented. So give us the quick overview of that.
So I just tried everything possible. I filed reports with whoever I could file reports with. What ultimately did it was going to the Better Business Bureau, but I was rejected the first like 6 or 7 times that I tried with them. I just kind of got a little bit lucky in that people were tweeting stuff kind of bragging about falsely getting me banned, that I was able to kind of use that as leverage. So that's what finally did it. But yeah, it took 6 months, and then finally, I actually hadn't even heard a word from Twitter when they unbanned me the first time. It wasn't until maybe a week or so later that they sent me this email.
Yeah. So, and this is just proven. This is on Mikey's Instagram account, guys, and you can see this is Twitter's response to the complaint he filed through the Better Business Bureau, and it says, "Hello, we're writing to let you know that we've unsuspended your account. We're sorry for the inconvenience and hope to see you back on Twitter soon. A little background: we have systems that find and remove multiple automated spam accounts in bulk, and yours was flagged by mistake. So another BS reason there.
Yeah.
Please note that it may take an hour or so for your follower numbers to return, blah, blah, blah. You know, basically don't harass us through the Better Business Bureau again." So I mean, they gave you this other BS reason, which is like, it was totally a mistake the last 6 months, but you got back on Twitter and it was very exciting. I was like so thrilled for you when I saw the account was restored. I was like, yes, someone finally won.
Yeah, I mean, it's very rare that anyone even gets that far.
Right. And then you got banned again. And what was the reason they gave you this time?
Evading a permanent suspension.
Okay, so I'm gonna just ask the question again. Twitter, as we have just seen, reinstated your account. There was no permanent suspension.
Nope.
By their own words, they said that this was a mistake, even though that's a BS reason. But let's just go with it. They said it was a mistake. How can you be evading permanent suspension if you were not permanently suspended?
I don't know. I think it basically just means your account has been growing and you have the wrong opinions, but you're also reasonable. So, and we need, you know, crazy people to seem like they're not leftists.
I mean, have you noticed? Because I feel like I noticed the minute that Trump announced his executive order, Twitter started acting
this
like
was the day after, by the way.
Yeah, it was. So this is important. Like, it was the day after Trump announced his executive order, and what I noticed was that Twitter started like pushing back like a petulant teenager about censoring stuff. I noticed other people getting censored and suspended, and all this stuff. Like, it went up quick. Did you notice that?
Yeah. And apparently I've heard from a lot of other people who are sort of in my at my level in terms of followers and stuff, who are sort of like new and growing and don't have millions of followers or anything, that they're all getting banned too.
That's scary. That's scary.
It's especially where, like, if you like, you know, because last time I had said, oh, burn the witch, and I gave them they were able to take that and use it. So I've been so careful since I was back on there to not give them anything like that, to not give them the gun to shoot me with. So I haven't said anything that they can use. So it sucks that no matter how careful you are with your words, they can just create a reason.
Yeah. All the time they make stuff up. It's like when I just did a video today about Facebook's staff is like blatantly like mutinying against the leadership because they won't censor Trump on Facebook, and I was talking about like just fire these people, and if a company wants to fire you, they're going to find a reason to fire you. It doesn't even have to be a real thing. They'll take something, they'll twist it, and they'll use it to fire you. And I think it's exactly the same here. If Twitter wants to ban you, they will find a reason to ban you, and they will go from there. You don't actually have to do anything wrong.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Like, you know, I was saying to somebody the other day that for, you know, I think I've been on Facebook since like 2006, and I got Twitter in 2009. And in most of that time, through most of it, I was just your typical generic leftist Democrat. I never had one ban. I never had one suspension, nothing. And in the past couple years that I'm no longer a Democrat, I think I'm on my 7th suspension from Facebook, and now my 2nd permanent ban from Twitter. And nobody can tell me what exactly I'm saying that's so terrible, because there are a lot of people on Twitter who are like super, super far right, who say outrageous things, and nothing happens to them. In addition to there being people like David Duke, Richard Spencer, Louis Farrakhan, none of them are banned. So I really think that that's by design, that they want you to think that the only ideas that you're able to see are either radical leftism or hate.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about my experience with it in a sec. But I just want to acknowledge Miles. Miles, thank you for the super chat. You're always so supportive. Appreciate it. No, I mean, I noticed the same thing. Like the minute I've been on social media as long as social media has existed, because I'm old.
Yeah. Same.
But, yeah. But like never a problem. Never even thought about it when I was on the left. And then the minute my article went viral and I left the Democratic Party, it was like boom. Mm-hmm. Like I get messages all the time that I'm shadow banned. I get messages all the time saying I've been unfollowed from your account. I've been unsubscribed from your account. Like every single day. And it's so blatantly obvious what they're doing.
But people still deny this problem. People say, oh, they don't censor. Oh, there's no censorship there. You know, it's insane. Mm-hmm. And with the thing is, it took so much to be able to get unbanned from them last time, and it took me 6 months. So even if it just takes as long as it did last time, in 6 months the election is over. So it's taking my voice away at a time that I possibly need it the most. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the thing is, I know to some people it sounds like, oh, it's just Twitter. Oh, but first of all, we're all stuck in our houses now. We've been stuck inside for 3 months. This Twitter is where the dialogue takes place. So when they can just put a muzzle on you and remove you from the discussion, especially the time that you can't even leave your house, what are you supposed to do? Write a message and tape it on your wall?
Yeah, no, and that's exactly the argument that I've been making. And it's like, this is the public square now. Like YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, this is where people are having conversations. This is where people are having dialogue. And yeah, there's alt tech, and I'm sure we're going to talk about some of the alt tech platforms in a sec, because I think a lot of conservatives are leaving Twitter for exactly these reasons. Yeah. But I mean, like, where else can we have the dialogue? We're stuck in our houses.
Yeah.
There's no group meetings. Well, we're not allowed to have meetings.
Apparently not anymore. Apparently, like, if you're a protester.
That's the other thing, too. It's like, what happened to all of a sudden people wanting to kill grandma if they were protesting?
Yep. I mean, God, you've been talking about that for so long that you got so much shit. for being so vocal about it, but now everyone's just suddenly outside.
It's like, never mind. I'm like, you know what? Like, take a principled stance on something.
Never. No, but these pod people, it's just all about signaling that you're part of the in-group. Every word that they say, everything that they post is just to show, look, I have the socially acceptable opinions. All they do is just regurgitate socially acceptable applause lines. I mean, and do you know how many people, let me just tell you guys, like half of your friends that you see posting about how much they hate Trump and how, they're the types of people who message people like Carlin and I in private and tell us how they're voting Trump.
Really love Trump. We just won't say it publicly all the time.
This is the new version of like sleeping with the straight girl's boyfriend.
No, it completely.
This is the new.
I don't have any experience with that, but no, it is.
Me neither.
No, I'm sure not. No, I mean, because and I'll say this for the knitters, because I know there's some knitters here. So you guys know how I went to Vogue Knitting Live and wore my Make Speech Free Again hat and like walked around the exhibit hall. Like I got so many people like in the knitting community, which is like this. Mikey, you think their SJWs are vicious like on Twitter? You come over to Instagram and you look at the knitting community because they have lost their damn minds. But I'll tell you how many people were like, I love your hat. I think it's great. All over the place. I think I cannot wait for November. Honestly, like I think that
I'm going to vote. I'm going to pull that lever with my middle finger.
I am too. And I think that they're going to be shocked. People are going to be shocked because they convinced themselves that Trump is not going to win.
Yeah, they're going to be more shocked this time than last time.
I think so too. Ambi, thank you for the super chat. Ambi says, I was banned by Twitter for no reason. Shocking. I think that they are really upset when you leave the designated group. I will not be surprised if the person who pulled the lever against me is black too. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is you actually had evidence, maybe not from inside of Twitter, but you had evidence that people were targeting you because you're a gay well, I don't think you're conservative. You're like center right.
Yeah. Which a few years ago would probably be considered center left. Right. But that's the thing, if the typical Overton window went from reasonable left to reasonable right, over the last couple of years, the radical left has moved it to where it's about this big. And it's all on the radical left. All there is today is just far left and very far left.
That's it. No in between. No compromise.
No, I don't think you're like particularly conservative either.
I'm not conservative at all. I mean, there's some things
Look
like.
At me.
Well, right. I mean, God, people tell me all the time. I got my head shaved. I'm just waiting to be called like an SJW again for the haircut that they all hate. Like, I mean,
and I practically got my freaking nipples hanging out. Like, how
we're
conservative
not conservative. Exactly. I mean, but I will say where I do absolutely overline with conservatives is individual liberties.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, nothing has shown us more the importance of that than the past couple months.
I mean, absolutely. It's just been it's been nuts. So we did have some questions from people that submitted beforehand. And so I wanted to kind of make sure we touched on some of these. Oh, actually, before we get into that, so are you planning on fighting the Twitter ban this time? Or are you just I'm over it?
No, I don't get over things.
Man, well, I hope
I'm going to fight them every step of the way. It's just frustrating because it just never ends. It just never ends. If you are somebody who is not a Democrat and not allowed to say, it never ends. Yeah. There's not a moment of peace. And the thing is, I don't know if some people watching know this or not, but so a couple weeks ago on Twitter, so I do events with, I don't know if you guys know Blair White, but we do events together and we're friends. And there were all these people who just created fake screenshots of her using the N-word. And then they used fake screenshots of me calling me horrible things. And all these people just shared and created it. The person who created that still on Twitter. That's breaking about a dozen different terms of service, but that doesn't matter. They have the right views.
It's just so once you see it and you see how messed up it is, it's so depressing.
I know.
And it's like I'm living in a simulation. Like, is this even real life? What is even going on right now? It's absolutely nuts.
And everybody supports it. If you look at the mainstream media coverage of Trump's executive order, they're all screaming about it and stuff.
And none of them have read it. They all think it automatically revokes Section 230. It does not revoke it. It just enforces it.
Well, exactly. Why should they be classified as both a publisher and a platform?
Right, exactly. And honestly, like I think that was the best possible approach to it because it's basically giving them like it's like a warning shot. It's like you've been messing around, like it's going to stop.
Yeah.
Like this isn't even new law. It's not there's nothing new happening. It's just like you're going to follow the restrictions that are already there. Stop silencing conservatives. And complying with this is the easiest thing in the world. All they literally have to do is stop censoring conservatives.
And if they didn't, then this wouldn't be an issue.
Exactly. And then it would just all go away. But no, Twitter's gonna screw themselves. I actually think like it's probably not even that big of a deal for you to get banned off Twitter because Twitter's gonna screw themselves. I don't think Twitter's gonna be around at this time next year because they're just keep pushing it.
It's just a lot of people say that we need to create a new platform and stuff, but it's just I think that's kind of difficult, at least as a short-term solution, because you need to get all of the ambivalent people in the middle to go to this new platform then.
Well, the thing of it is, though, and actually, I just want to put Maddie's super chat up before I forget. Thank you, Maddie. Cassandra Fairbanks' house was shot at last night. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't know that.
Dude, it's crazy. Yeah, they showed up. They shot fireworks at it. Like her 9-year-old daughter was in the house, and she got like the tail end of it on video. I mean, it's just like nuts. People have lost their damn minds.
But that's the thing is that this has been happening for the past couple of years now. That we have decided that there is nothing that is too low. There is nothing that you cannot do to somebody if they are not a leftist Democrat. You can assault them. You can ban them. You can censor them. It's coming to the point where why don't you just kill them?
Right, exactly. And I'm sure they're going to try. I mean, listen, like, is there any outrage over any of these cops that have been shot?
No.
Or like, I mean, no, none. That's
even how about, I was just reading about like just this innocent black guy who was shot during this.
Right.
What about like, who's mourning them?
Right. Or any of the people that have been beat up trying to protect their businesses.
Yeah, and most of the videos I've seen too, like most of these people are white Antifa.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's so crazy. So crazy. I mean, I don't think like going back to your idea of, we've got to get the ambivalent middle to move over. I don't necessarily know that that's true because is the ambivalent middle even really using Twitter? I think we need to get active people. The minute that Trump leaves, Trump has got to leave at some point. That's going to be it.
I was almost hoping that they would ban him, to be honest, because if they did, there would be no more sweeping this under the rug. No,
I think it'd be fabulous if they did. Yeah. Because they would just be entertaining to watch, if nothing else.
Can you imagine?
Are you on like Gab or Parler?
I'm not really. I should be. I downloaded them once a very long time ago, I think, and then just kind of forgot about it. There's like Gab, Parler, Mine. Is Minds.com still around?
Minds.com is still around. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So no, I plan to get on those, but it's just so frustrating. It is. And it's hard to get people to move over and actually use them too. I know I'm really trying to expand into all those platforms right now. And it's just like, it's so hard to do every single thing. Cause like whenever I post anything, I have a list of like 18 properties that I have to post it to. And it's a pain in the butt. And it's like, and then never mind like interacting on them. Forget getting people to move. It's hard enough to get people to acknowledge when you're banned. Like, just so you guys know, Carlin is basically like the only person who would stick her neck out for me with this. Also my friend Brandon, but like most of these people who are these free speech, anti-censorship, anti-big tech people with big platforms, trying to get them to stick up for somebody when they're banned is like talking to a road cone.
Well, and that
just confuses silence.
That confuses the hell out of me because it's like these people are preaching all the time about free speech, censorship bad, all this stuff is bad, and then they don't say anything. And I'm like, I just don't care. I don't care if I get banned off Twitter. I don't care if anything. Well, I really don't want my YouTube to get banned, like, because I want to build that.
I care
but, like,
if you get banned from Twitter.
I can't. Well, I mean, but like, if it happened, it really wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Like, I would survive. Life would go on, and so I think it's important to speak up against out when these things happen, because if it can happen to you, it can happen to any of us.
Exactly. I mean, I think in terms of like people who do this, outwardly, I think I'm probably the most centrist person to get banned from Twitter. And the thing is too, when I talk about how other people don't stick up for people when they're banned. It's not just me. It's any of these people who have been banned. It's always just been silence from these people who talk about free speech, free speech, free speech. And then I think that they're basically just so afraid that, ooh, they'll be next, you know, and maybe if they're very quiet, maybe it'll be the last one to get banned. It's ridiculous.
Mike Huckabee stuck up for you last time.
He did.
You should reach out to him.
That. I didn't reach out to him last time. He just somehow heard of me, I guess. It was so unexpected, but so lovely.
Yep.
I was like, wow. And I was like, wow, Mike Huckabee has more balls than any of these people on YouTube.
I just don't understand it, man. People, like, I don't understand. And maybe this is just the way I'm wired, but I can't help myself but speak out and say, this is wrong when something is wrong. Yeah. And I don't understand why that's so hard, because if it, like, what would happen if everyone just stood up and said, this is wrong, this shouldn't be happening?
No, I'm feeling it twice now for the second time, that like all these friends of mine, all these people that I know with big platforms, when you're banned, you have the stain on you, and everybody just sort of disconnects and takes a step back, and suddenly they're not returning your calls, they don't return your texts, you don't hear from them anymore. So that's something I'm going to remember once I get back, and I will get back.
It's just so stupid. It's like, it reminds me, I have to go to LA on Wednesday.
Oh God,
and I'm partially excited because Joshua and I are going to hang out and drink beer and
nice,
do assorted other things. So that's going to be fun and not socially distance. But like, I hate LA. I hate LA. It is the most inauthentic place in the world. And I feel like what you're talking about is like LA on the internet.
That is so well said. That's exactly what it is.
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm so over New York. Like, as soon as I was going to say as soon as this is over, but I guess it's apparently over now, just not for us commoners. But yeah, I'm planning a trip to Texas because I'm just so over this.
I want to go to Texas. We should take a road trip to Texas.
Let's go. I'm so mad because I don't have my license, and the DMV has been closed here for months.
Oh.
But I'm like, I want to get my license already.
Do it. Well, it's going to open. No, I would do a road trip to Texas in a second. That would be fun. We'll get like a nice, like, you know, comfortable car, and
let's do it.
We're not doing it in my car. I have a small car.
I have no car.
No, that would be awesome.
Yeah, seriously. It's very well said. It's the LA of the internet. And I think with us, like, we totally just fell into doing this. We never really like sought out.
This was not planned.
No, exactly. Same with me. It sort of has just kind of disrupted our lives. But yeah, so I think like we feel very sincerely about it, and there's no point in being afraid of anything. Screw them.
Exactly. And I generally think too, like, when you're afraid, you attract things to be afraid of. Like, I'm a very paranoid person in terms of like law of attraction and where my headspace is and what my perspective is. And, you know, if you're afraid of something, well, guess what? Something's going to show up for you to be afraid of. It's like, people create self-fulfilling prophecies all the time.
No, and like, if you look at all of these people, like, they didn't stand up for Milo when he was banned. They didn't stand up for Alex Jones. They didn't stand up for anybody, least of all me. And the thing is, everyone knew that with those people, that was just an easy starting point for censorship, to get people to agree on it. Oh, it's just Milo. It's just Alex Jones. He's crazy. Who cares? It's just him. Right. But it doesn't stay with Alex Jones.
No. That's what people don't understand. And like, I feel like I understood this about civil liberties when I was a teenager. I understood that the ACLU defended the KKK and Nazis, because if you defend the worst possible speech, that protects all other speech. Yeah. And I don't understand what happened. I really don't, Mikey. Like, it's like I woke up and we're living in goddamn 1984. The very beginning, not like, you know, the full-fledged 1984, but like the beginning stages of 1984.
Yeah. No, I mean, I remember watching like the TV movie of the week about that with my dad, and like when I was a kid, my Jewish dad, and seeing how they fought for those people's free speech, even though they're horrible people.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens in a free, apparently civilized country.
That's what you do. So you want to take some questions from people that I
Yes.
have? All right. Let's see.
Thank you. By the way, thank you so much for having me out. Like, you're the best.
Oh, I mean, it was like not even an issue. Of course I'm going to have you on. First of all, it's fun for me, but secondly, this is important. Okay, so there are some questions in here that have to do with Twitter. There are some questions that don't have to do with Twitter. I'm just going to go down the list as I have it. Okay, so the first one is from Purple People Eater. And Purple People Eater says, I am blessed by always being an outsider looking in. I've been part of many groups, but never fell into any of their trappings. I've always been accepted as I am and don't accept me at all. And I have friends and I can't control if they like me. I will not worry about it. Is that how Mike is dealing with being cut off, or is he considering conforming with the group?
Hell no. Which group? I mean, not that I would conform to any of them, but which group?
I guess the Twitterati.
Over my dead body. Are you kidding me? Over my dead body.
It's just not worth it.
No. And it's like, okay, so first of all, there have been a lot of times over the past year or two of my life that I've genuinely wondered, oh my God, have I ruined my life? Am I just, because there are a lot of things where, what would have been potential employers where I know for a fact that I'm totally blacklisted, won't get hired for anything with that. I lost every friend I've ever had in my life. So it's been a question for me. Have I just ruined my life? And what I try to remind myself is that there's just absolutely no way that I would ever be able to just walk the line and go along with these people. And if you don't just submit and conform to these people, there's no way. There's no way that you can coexist with them. Because for me, even before I was really openly talking about politics and stuff, this stuff goes so far beyond politics. It is in everything. It's in knitting. It is in everything. Somebody was telling me that they're a runner, and it's in the running community. It's everywhere. So like a couple years ago, I was in talks that I almost had a book deal, and it was a totally non-political book, and everything in it was offensive and had to be taken out. So there's just no way, like our friend Carter from Unsafe Space says, if you are not actively fighting this ideology, you will capitulate to it.
Yeah. And what people don't realize is no, absolutely not. No. And what people don't realize is if they may be coming for one of us today, they're going to come for you tomorrow.
Yes.
Like, this is what's been going on in knitting, at least. It's like they have literally, this past weekend, dude, they went after, I mean, major people. Like, and it was like one person after another. They were just hopping around, going after they were planning it openly. I was like, what the hell? Like, it just makes no sense. Like, if they come after someone today, they're going to come after you tomorrow. And then none of us are going to be able to think or say what we want. Now,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and the level of social submission is just insane. Just seeing every single person repeating the same applause lines. How wonderful, stunning, and brave. And everybody is just, it's crazy. Everyone just repeats the same shit. Nobody thinks for themselves. And I've seen so many friends of mine, because I have a couple friends who I've kind of like recently red pilled. And now they're being called Nazis and racists and all that.
The minute that you're called a Nazi and a racist for like the first time, you're like, what is even going on right now?
Yeah.
No. I mean, I know that, like, oh gosh, I just had two thoughts and they both flew out of my head. Oh, they look like pod people though, don't they? I mean, honestly, like, I look at my friend or my old friends now, I guess, and I don't recognize them. They're like robots, just repeating lines that have been fed to them.
Yes.
I'm like, what happened?
And the number of them who have said to me in private that they agree and they're voting for Trump and stuff, and then they post all this anti-Trump stuff and all the stuff that I know they don't actually believe. It's just, this today is how you signal that you're part of the in-group.
No, it's totally
all
true.
The safe opinions, all the socially acceptable opinions. Black Lives Matter. Clap, clap, clap.
Well, the thing is, I mean, and this is the thing that's happened in knitting today, like Black Lives do matter. I don't actually disagree with that notion. Black Lives Matter. Fine. Like, there's literally no argument. Fine.
No, and I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm sympathetic to the underlying cause. Just nothing else that comes from it.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I have trouble with is, I believe that what happened to George Floyd was absolutely racially motivated. I mean, maybe not overtly. I think it was a subconscious thing, but
yeah,
I don't believe that would have happened if he was a white man. I just don't.
No, I agree.
But we can't even have that conversation.
Yeah. And I think that's something that conservatives need to understand too, is that, believe me, I get it. I understand what the statistics say. I understand the media. I understand that we hear about every time this happens because it's rare. However, they need to be conscious of that stuff too, because it's not so easy to just say, well, these are the numbers. In fact, that's just not how human beings are wired.
Well, honestly,
I think they need to be a little more cognizant of that and more sympathetic to the fact that there are double standards that lead to that. Basically, so they probably didn't love this, but I said this on Twitter before I was banned. I was like, there are two sides of this where racism is real, and there are biases and double standards and prejudices that can lead to violent outcomes. Also, the astronomically high rate of crime in the Black community fuels those prejudices, and you will never solve one side of that until you address the other. That's just true.
Yeah. And it's honestly, it's been very, kind of disheartening for me to see so many conservatives immediately after this happened pipe up and say, this wasn't racist. This had nothing to do with race. And you can make arguments, like you can point out stories of like this white woman was killed by a Black cop and no one said anything. That's fine. But that does not mean that there was not racial undertones to this. Two things can be true at once. And I think that when conservatives immediately say this has nothing to do with race, they just discredit the whole thing. You have to have nuanced conversations about this.
Yes, thank you. And then they wonder why 90% of Black people vote for Democrats.
Well, right. Exactly. There are legitimate problems with race in this country, but like we can't even have this conversation because now the far left has made literally everything racist, even if it's not about race at all. Racist.
Yeah. And it's anything you say, anything except just, like I said, showing total submission to this is racist now. So I don't understand why it is so terrible to say, hey, look at the results of all of this. Clearly, we're all worse off. We're all fighting more. We're all getting along worse. Clearly, this isn't working. Why don't we try a different approach that might actually help people? Right. Oh, no, racist. That's racist. It's racist.
Yeah, everything's racist. Everything's racist. Luke Casey, thank you for the super chat. Silencing opposition is the main goal of every Marxist communist ideology. I need to go back and read up on communism, honestly. It's been a while. But it's absolutely terrifying the extent to which these people are going to silence anyone that doesn't think like them.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is that we as a culture have normalized communism and cultural communism and Marxism and radical leftism for a couple years at least now, if not more. And this is what you get from it. There's no surprise here.
People do not understand. They do not understand. All right, let's go on to the next one. This is from Mything Sorcio. I don't know exactly how to pronounce that, but thank you for the question. Social media is at fault just as much as the mainstream media for this polarization. How are people like Mikey supposed to feel? Funny how intolerant the bullies really are. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. That's exactly what they are. They're cry bullies because they're the first to cry and whine to play the victim. Yeah. But they try to just, deal with everybody else with an iron fist.
Right, exactly. Oh, dude, I had this person so I used to be, and I think I still am. I used to have a lot of followers in the HR community because that was the community I was playing in and doing consulting in, dude. Because I speak at a lot of HR conferences, right? And so this person, I tweeted this thing today which was just all about you have to be mindful of where you're putting your energy to create the reality you want and not focus on the bad and just act moving into the future. I was trying to be inspirational, but I was also just taking care of myself by just trying to put something nice and positive out there, right? This fucking HR woman comments, "I can't believe you descended into being such a bully and you need to go back and read your own book." I was like, bitch, please. Please. This is bullying to say that people need to move forward and try to create a more positive outcome? I don't understand.
It's crazy. No, but that's what they do, is that they control and manipulate language. They change definitions of words to suit whatever they want it to mean.
Yeah. Oh, dude, so many of my old friends have been posting white fragility all weekend. And finally, I just broke down. I was like, white fragility has been repeatedly debunked. And they were like, no, Carlin, it has not been repeatedly debunked. I'm like, dude, it's been debunked by Black intellectuals.
They don't care.
Like, no, they don't care. They don't care. And then, you know, there's a little back and forth, and someone said, and I was so proud of myself for this. Someone said, well, you know, we're not calling you a racist. I'm like, hang on a second. Robin DiAngelo, who wrote White Fragility and makes a boat ton of money traveling around, speaking and providing workshops to white people to help them deal with their inherent racism, she flat out says that all white people are racist. So no, maybe you're not calling me racist, but the woman you're citing is calling you racist because you're white, and you will always be racist unless you pay her thousands of dollars.
I am. Oh, yeah. Yes, I am. Oh, bad me. Like,
yeah, help me manage my racism. Like, I'm not racist.
But the thing is, I think if you have a conversation with somebody like that for 2 minutes, you'll see that those are the prejudices that they have. So they assume that everybody else is as racist as they are.
Yeah, no. My husband said to me last night, he's like, I don't know what happened to just treating everyone the same. I'm like, I don't either, man. I don't either. That used to be the way it was.
No, because because we were so close, I think, in the late 90s and early 2000s to everyone getting along and moving past these issues. And we can't have that. It's too lucrative of an industry.
Oh my God. I said to him, my husband last night, I was like, I've talked about race more in the last 6 months than I did in the entire first part of my life.
Yeah, there was nothing of this, you know. I mean, do you remember like the early 2000s and the late 90s? Like, it was wonderful.
It was fantastic. And you know what I remember specifically is, you know, we used to always, so I had a lot of kids and cousins and all this stuff in my family because I have like an Irish Catholic family, and we would always go over to one of their houses. My grandmother would like watch after us like all summer, and she would every day, she would watch Sally Jesse. And Sally Jesse was the best. And so what I remember from my childhood are like these old episodes of Sally that I would sit there and watch with my grandmother about how you shouldn't be racist and you shouldn't treat people differently because they were racist. And that's what I grew up on, was these cheesy talk shows that were pointing out that this is wrong. And, you know, that made an impact. I mean, I'm not one of those people that says I don't see color, because I do see color. If you're in front of me and you're Black, I'm going to know you're Black, you know, but I'm not going to treat you differently. I'm not going to speak to you differently. Like, why?
Yeah. Well, no, when I was in kindergarten, they opened a white egg and opened a brown egg, and look, we're all the same on the inside.
Right.
Today it would be, well, the white egg crushed the brown egg and slammed it on the floor, and 400 years of the white egg slamming the brown egg. Oh, my God. I
can't.
I mean, they're teaching preschoolers in New York about white privilege and shit. And look, nobody would like, clearly there are double standards and discrepancies and all of the above between the races. Nobody would have an issue with this if they called it racial double standards. But you can't. You know,
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of the things that they consider to be the white, like, I think are legitimate. But when, for example, if you have some person in Alabama with no money or power, working 3 jobs just to feed his family, barely getting by, and you tell that person how privileged he is, do you think that that makes them care or understand or give a shit about racial injustice?
Right. Well, especially
if you want to say, go fuck yourself.
And especially if you compare them to, you know, a Black guy that came from an affluent family and has never had to struggle for money in their lives. Yeah. Who's more privileged in that scenario? Poor white guy or privileged Black or rich Black guy? I mean.
Well, and a lot of these people that we know that, you know, that do all the compliance shit, it really is, again, about luxury beliefs. That it's a lot of people who have really not struggled much, who are like affluent white, have on all the right in groups, and you know, this is a way of signaling that they're part of the in group.
No, that's exactly, and my husband says to me too, because he immigrated. For people that don't know, my husband's an immigrant from Ukraine, and he says to me all the time, he's like, Carlin, these kids have no idea what oppression is.
Yeah.
Like, my husband actually grew up. I mean, he was communist Russia for, you know, the good bit of his childhood. Like, they don't know. They have no idea.
Yeah, no, a good friend of mine, her family's from a communist country, and her grandfather was put in a gulag, and people don't know because they don't teach about it in school. Government schools have stopped teaching about these things.
It's crazy. All right, I want to acknowledge Cold Summer's super chat. Thank you. And Cold Summer says, the amazing Lucas did a video addressing how conservatives approach police brutality. I disagree with a lot of what he says, but he is on point in this. I don't know what that video is. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I want to watch that now, though.
Check it out.
Because I think they deal with this shit horribly. I have to say, this is going to be a very unpopular opinion, but at the moment until now, I'm a bit disappointed in President Trump. Like, I want him to do more.
I am too.
I watched his speech the other day that he gave at NASA, and he said all the right things, but I thought the argument of voting for Trump was, who cares about words? Look at his actions. Okay, well, now I want to see actions. Be the president who heals the racial divide. Be the president to bring us together. We want to unify.
No, I completely agree. Like, where the hell has he gone? He was on TV like every day for months. And now, like, I feel like I don't see him at all anymore.
No, well, I feel, and I've said this for a long time, that I think whenever there is one of these instances of racial crisis, his response is just always very political. Right. You know, like the Charlottesville thing. Like, yes, the media totally lied. He did not say Nazis are wonderful people. However, I still think it was a shitty, insufficient response.
Yeah.
And this so far seems like the same thing. And I say that as somebody who is voting for him, who wants him to bring people together. And I've heard a lot of his supporters say, oh, well, it doesn't matter. They'd attack him anyway. Then let them attack him. Who cares?
Right. If they're going to do it anyway, he should at least try to do something about I mean, and I think that he could, to be honest. I really do think that he could.
Do too.
Yeah, if he wanted to.
I don't know what it is if he doesn't want to tick off the 1% of people in his, I don't know.
Well, we'll see what happens. Something's got to give soon, because this is
Democrats clearly just want this conflict to go on forever. So at the moment, I feel like I'm forced to choose between one side that does everything humanly possible to drive us apart and keep us fighting with each other, or then another side that does absolutely jack shit nothing to bring us together.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I'm still going to vote for Trump. But
absolutely, same. But I think I don't know. Happy. I feel no, same, and I just feel very strongly that it's not enough to just yell about Democrats and the left. Like, a lot of people do that because it's easy.
Yeah.
But for me, a lot of people blame Democrats for all our problems. I blame Republicans, because what's worse, these people who have destroyed every city they run, can't do anything, or incompetent. What's worse, that or the people who lose to them?
No, I completely agree with you. I completely agree.
I could rant for hours about them. And I say that because I'm a registered Republican now, and I want them to improve and do better.
Well, I'll tell you too, Chris Sununu is the governor of my state. He's a Republican. I am so pissed at him. I'm so pissed. He's not opening the state. Finally, oh my God, Mikey. I just got an email 15 minutes before we went on air. My gym is finally opening again. I'm like, oh,
I'm so
he's
jealous.
been dragging his feet, dude. I've gotten so fat. And I was big already. But he was dragging his feet. I'm like, come on, man. You're a Republican. Start acting like a goddamn Republican and open up the state, because most of the deaths and most of the sickness is in long-term care facilities. Yeah. That's where it is in New Hampshire. Long-term care facilities.
Oh, well, we'll see, by the way, now with all these protests and these people on top of each other. We'll see if the COVID numbers go up. I have a very strong feeling that they won't.
Yeah, no.
They'll tick up a little bit, but I don't think that these people are going to be getting COVID en masse. And if or when that happens, people should have a lot of questions as to why we've been kept inside for 3 months.
Exactly. Exactly. All right, I have kind of a fun question. I think it's a fun question. I think you're going to have a fun answer to it. Which is, what is the healthiest way for an ambivalent straight, such as myself, to interact with Pride Month? Is it better to engage or let them alone? Yeah, I knew that's what you were going to
do. Tell me how I am supposed to interact during Pride Month. Like, God damn it, we need a whole friggin' month. It's ridiculous.
Well, you need like 87,000 flags now.
Jeez. And my favorite thing is there's like an entire collage of every powerful corporation in this country. Apple, Disney, every corporation imaginable, and every single one with the rainbow logo. So
Yeah.
I put that up once and I'm like, this is what it looks like when you're horribly oppressed. This is what it means to be a marginalized minority.
Exactly.
Oh God. But oh sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I like a lot of people bitch a lot about like the Pride Parade, which like I don't care about that. It's one day. In New York, at least, it's mostly like banks and middle-aged women dancing in the streets. So that isn't my concern. My concern is much more how gay people are every other day of the year.
Yeah.
And that culture.
The Wanderer says, no president can heal the racial divide. That can only be done by us. We have to figure out how to show people that the racial divide is being caused by the ideology who claims to seek social justice. Yes.
That's true.
I agree with that.
But I think, no, I do too. Of course, no president can heal racism, but they can show leadership and they can help facilitate that and they can set an example.
And, you know, I mean, one thing that he's done that I like is I really like that he's designating Antifa as a terrorist organization.
Yeah.
Like, that's good.
But I just think it needs to be, like, that's only one side of the issue. Like, I want the other side to be addressed too, because I don't know about you guys, but for me, the biggest question, sorry, I tricked you. The biggest question that I had after watching the video was how this person was hired and allowed to remain a police officer for so long.
Yeah,
I think that, and do you hear anybody talking about, changing police procedure and stuff? I haven't heard that once. So I think that's the important issue here, is whatever policies and procedures allowed him to be hired and stay on the police force need to be changed so that this does not happen again. Because I don't care, white, black, I don't care. I think one person being wrongly executed by the state is a conservative issue.
Right. Well, and the thing of it is too, is like the social justice stuff has also made this impossible, because we can't have conversations about what procedures, what policies, what things do we need to implement that actually might help this problem? What type of training do we need to implement? And I think those things, I've heard of those things going on, but they're never talked about. What social justice wants is just outrage, 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 outrage. And then they make their demands. And then even if those demands are met, it's not good enough. And then they want more. And then they want more after that. Like, you know, now they want this guy. This guy got charged, and I think all of those cops should be charged if it was my thing. But this guy, the main guy, has gotten charged with 3rd-degree murder, which is the crime that they can actually convict him of, because that's how laws work. And they're like, no, not good enough. 1st-degree murder.
They don't care what the law is.
He's going to get off on 1st-degree murder. It's not 1st-degree murder.
But then they can be outraged about that.
Exactly. And it's just like, it's perpetual.
I think it's like a disease with this generation is people are just addicted. They love to hate. They love to be outraged. Like, it's like these people who follow me on social media or Facebook or Twitter, and they hate me so much, like personally despise me. But I'm like, why do you follow me then? Like, people that I don't like, I don't care. It's so bizarre.
I know. I have this one person that sends me hate mail. They actually haven't sent it in a few days, so maybe they'll start up again after I say this. But like, for a while they were
doing well.
But they were literally sending me hate mail every single day. But it was written from the perspective of like a drunk cat. It was the most bizarre thing in the world. I was like, what is even going on right now? You are insane. And anytime someone sends me hate, like, they never use their real email addresses, right? Because they send it through my website and all this stuff, and they mask their email addresses.
Same with Twitter. It's an anime avatar with 7 followers.
I know. And I'm like, you know what? If you're going to send me hate mail, at least send me good hate mail.
I know. Get creative.
Exactly. Maddie says, a whole month of Pride? I can't. At my age, one must ration one's pride.
Oh, Matt. My friend Bobby had sent me this quote. I think it's from I don't know. He likes anime and shit. I don't know much about that. But I loved this quote so much that it said, what was it? I'm probably gonna butcher it, but something like, pride is not the antidote to shame, it's its source. Only true humility is whatever. End of shame. I think that's very true. I mean, if you think about it, pride is not a wonderful thing. It's not a positive quality. It's one of the seven deadly sins. Yeah. So, you know, I think it's basically, I think the LGBT community today is all pride and no shame. Mm-hmm. We could use a little shame.
Or a little humility, one might say.
Yes. Yep.
Jay Duncan asks you, what can one do to ensure a free marketplace of ideas and diversity of thought? I'm a straight minority male boomer libertarian. I have no issues with race, sexuality, and ethnicity, but do have issues with attempts to silence other voices by the identity politics and thought police of today's left. What do you think, Mikey? What can people do to ensure a more free marketplace of ideas and diversity of thought?
Just individual people?
Yeah, I think that's where all this stuff has to start, right? Change comes from the individual.
I think it's just being tolerant of other opinions, because I think to remember, I always say, don't become what you walked away from, because I think there are a lot of people like us who then just go the other direction and get very tribal and buy into a lot of groupthink and won't speak to somebody if they're a Democrat. Like, we can't do that shit. Right. So I think just being open-minded and have always exposing yourself to ideas that you disagree with. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very fundamental.
And learning to just be okay with that disagreement. You know, I mean, it's incredibly hard, but like once you get used to it, it's like, okay, we can agree to disagree. This is like not a big deal. This is not the end of the world. We can still hang out. Like, relax. I found myself when I was with the knitting stuff this weekend, just because so much stuff was going on, and I felt like I was bopping from like thing to thing to fight with people and pushing back, and I was like losing and pulling out what remains of my hair, and I at some point I stopped myself and I was like, you can't become the monster that you're fighting. You have to stop. Because it has to be strategic. Like, it's fine to push back, and we should push back, and we should speak up, but at some point you have to say, I've made my point.
Yeah.
Walk away.
By the way, side note, am I the only person who laughs hysterically every time I hear Carlin say the word knitters?
Just because you haven't interacted with us yet, Mikey.
No, but when you were on Dave Rubin, I was watching it, and he's like, so tell me about the knitters.
Did I do good on Dave Rubin? I don't know, because I didn't even watch it.
You were amazing. Oh, I watched it. You were amazing. As always.
I can't bring myself to watch it.
I'm the exact same way. I can't watch myself.
I remember I woke up when the day that the full episode went up, and I turned on my TV and went right to my YouTube subscriptions. I saw myself and I was like, ah!
No, you were amazing. Well, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm the same way though. I hate watching myself. When I first started doing this shit, at first did events and YouTube and stuff, my dad, because he's like a musician and stuff, so he knows how it is, but he like basically forced me to watch all my stuff on repeat. He was like, otherwise you're not going to learn from your mistakes, and I'm like, ugh. It was like torture.
Yeah. Joshua says, and there's actually a question about you and Joshua in a sec, but Joshua says like that because he works with a lot of celebrities. Joshua the Psychic, guys, is my friend that I do my Tuesday night show with, Joshua McGuire. He says there are two types of celebrities that he works with. The ones that don't watch anything they do, and the ones that pick apart every single thing that they do, and the ones that
both. Well, except not a celebrity, obviously.
Well, but he says that like the ones that pick everything apart, they tend to not be very happy because they're just so self-critical about everything. But the ones that are like, I did it and walk away from it, like those are the ones that tend to be happier.
Shit, I gotta get more like that. I'm kind of both, because like I hate watching myself, but I'm also critical of myself.
Whatever. Aiden says, I've never Aiden is amused by the way I pronounce the word status. Do I pronounce the word status like wrong?
Status. You say it in kind of like a stately manner. Status. I never would have noticed that, but
now that it's pointed out, you're never going to be able to unhear it.
Like very Mufasa-like.
That makes sense. I'm a Leo moon, so I have my inner lion. All right. Thunderfeet says, Dear Mike, I've left Twitter, and although it was hard to begin with, but I feel much better for it. Although I don't agree with you being banned from Twitter, don't you feel it could be a blessing in the long run?
Yeah. Personally, yes, in terms of my own, and I think Twitter is a horrible place. It is so much worse than any Facebook, Instagram, anything. I don't know why exactly that is, but it just attracts the most horrible people in the world.
That's why it's so addictive. It's like a train wreck.
Oh, and that's probably something that's fueled, like we were saying, this addiction to outrage and hate and negativity. But for me, it's more the principle of it. It's that, I have a point of view. I have things I feel compelled to say. So to have that ability taken away from me during an election, and then these people talk about, interference in elections as if Russia is the problem.
They're going to figure out a way to blame Russia for all of this at some point.
Oh, I know.
Because we can't blame China.
Russia, it was Ukraine, not China.
Not China.
It's like how they would blame, which religions to blame. Christianity and Jews, not Islam.
Nope, not Islam.
Not China.
Islam. Nope, not China.
The country of peace.
All right, so Thin White Axe is in the chat, so we're going to ask Thin White Axe this question. Ask him how he enjoyed being astro-psychoanalyzed by hot psychic.
It was amazing. Also, I love Thin White Axe. Thin White Axe is my favorite.
Thin White Axe is the best.
Yes, I know. Oh my god, it was great. I had never done any of that before, and he kind of blew my mind a little bit. He was saying shit. I'm like, because first of all, I barely could tell you what astrology was before that. Like, I just knew nothing about it, and I thought it was probably mostly bullshit. But he was saying shit that I was just like, this is like creepy accurate.
I'll tell you, it's creepy. The
he's
thing
good.
He's right. He's very good. Well, I'm glad to hear that though, because he said to me the other day, he's like, I don't know if that went well. I'm like, I think it went fine.
Yeah. No, that was great.
No, like Joshua is amazing. Joshua says that, so I just had I do a weekly coaching call with him, and he said that this week something's going to happen where my purpose is going to become clear. And I was like, thank God, because Jesus Christ, I have no idea.
Actually, oh my God, now that I think about it, he had said to me, this was probably about 2 weeks ago, or I don't know how long. He was like, in the next 2 weeks, you need to be doing stuff that's going to come together for you creatively, and you need to, and it kind of has, because I've been working on this business that I'm starting with my creative partner. We're starting a production company and platform for films, series, documentaries, comedy specials that would never be put out there otherwise. So we're starting an entire company with it. I just filed for my trademarks with it. Yay! So, and
I'm going to have a show.
Hell yeah. It'll be like Dr. Ruth, but Dr. Carlin.
Yes. I will give out sage advice on God knows what.
Basically, but I certainly have lots punk rock Netflix.
It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see what you do.
Yeah, we've been my director Johnny and I though have been coming up with so much stuff for it that we're getting ready to pitch and have meetings and stuff. So hopefully it'll be good.
It's going to be awesome. You're going to knock it out of the park because you just don't give up. That's the thing that I don't think a lot of people understand is success isn't necessarily about being the smartest person or frankly, even the best person at what you do.
Definitely not.
But it's about not giving up. It's about being persistent you did this when you were fighting Twitter the first time. It's about not taking no for an answer. Those are the people that are successful, not the smartest, not the most talented, not even the people sometimes with the most money, the people that don't give up.
You know what's funny that I've kind of come to realize over the years is that I feel like the qualities that I think suit me well in business, such as being persistent and not taking no for an answer, are the things that make me horrible in dating.
Probably.
Because I'm the same.
But you know what? Here's the thing. I hated dating. I hated it so much. In fact, when I met Victor, I had just sworn off dating. I had gotten out of this quasi relationship, which was really a relationship, but he didn't want to admit that it was a relationship. And then he cheated on me, and I was like, F this, and I was moving, and so it was kind of gonna end anyway, and I was just done. I didn't even care. I was I remember the moment that I met Victor, because Victor, I don't know if you know this, Victor was my mover.
What?
That was how Victor and I met. Is I was moving, and I was moving from Vermont to where I live now, the townhouse that I have that we now share, and I looked like hell that day. I was like, F this, I don't want to move, whatever. I had like no makeup on, my hair looked crazy, all this stuff. They were an hour and a half late showing up to move me. And so I was pissed anyway. I was like, where the hell are you? Because like, you do not show up an hour and a half late for me. Like, pro tip. And they show up, and like Victor was like clearly hungover. I don't know if he'll ever admit this, but he was. And so we just started talking, and I'd been trying to learn Russian for some reason. I just thought it would be fun. And he has a very thick Russian accent. And I was like, where are you from? And immediately we just started talking, and fate went from there. So I guess I'm telling you this to say that like I really believe that the right person will show up at the right time, and you can never predict where that's going to happen. But if it is meant to happen, like Victor and I you remember the movie The Adjustment Bureau?
Yes.
We've talked several times about how our marriage is like an adjustment bureau thing, where something happened to put us in the same place at the same time. And it was just like no other way that it could have happened.
That's funny. I was an extra in that movie.
No, you weren't.
It was miserable. I regretted doing it. It was
what
outside.
What scene were you in?
It was like he had like an event
that
he was running for something. I think I still have his sign. What was he running for, Senate or something?
Something like that. Yeah. That's funny.
It was miserable. It was like outside in like 0-degree weather. I was like, fuck this.
I don't want to watch that movie now. All right, so let's take a question from Dan. Dan asks, please speak on the topic of gay stereotypes in the media and the emergence of drag culture in mainstream society. I think that's an interesting question. What do you think about that?
Oh God, where to begin with that? That's a big subject. First of all, I think it's funny how we sort of have never progressed in the stereotype that's portrayed in the media of gay people, because it's very crowd pleasing because it's non-threatening. It's, that stereotypical gay guy, the sidekick, the best friend, the gay guy will never be, they'll be the fashion designers, but will never be the CEO or the, ass kicking person. It seems that this sort of like gay culture is just taken over everything. Even if you read certain headlines lately, it sounds like they're written by like some sassy drag queen or something, like no, Trump didn't do that. Like they're just super bitchy. And I don't have anything against drag or drag queens for consenting adults, but the whole drag queen storytime hour with kids I think is psychotic. And what's even worse is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with what happened with this kid, Wilson Gavin, his name was, but he was like a 20-year-old gay kid who had the audacity to say drag queens are not for kids. And after that, he was bullied on Twitter. I guarantee you nothing happened to these people. Mark my words, nothing happened to the people who did this on Twitter. But these alphabet people, these LGBT activists and the blue check marks just bullied him and bullied him and bullied him and bullied him. This anonymous 20-year-old kid, until he jumped in front of a train and killed himself.
Yeah.
So here's the thing too, is that the alphabet people, their excuse for everything, the reason that you have to conform and do what they say and enact any ridiculous shit that they want, is they say, if you don't, then LGBT kids will kill themselves. People will die if you don't do it. Sound familiar? Well, now people are dying because of them, because of their actions. Because right now, the LGBT community is basically about two things: control and conform. And so now we're at the point where they are literally bullying people to death. And they don't care.
No, they don't.
Oh, and by the way, Chad Felix, I don't know if you know Chad Felix Green. He's an amazing, amazing writer. Like gay conservative. He's amazing. So he wrote a thing tracking, though, all of these LGBT activists who, when that kid committed suicide, were cheering it, saying they're so happy, they're glad he killed himself, he deserved to die. Or on the flip side of that, the blue check marks who were pathologizing him, saying, oh, he just hated himself. Oh, self-hate, self-hate. Even though this kid is on video a million times over saying how, like, he loves his family and everyone accepts him and he hasn't experienced any discrimination. This was clearly not a person who hated themselves in any way. And this is how they treat supposedly their own people.
I mean, it's all a game to them. It's all a game. It's the same with knitting. Like people laugh at the knitting stuff, but like, listen, someone almost died. Like a gay man who was bullied so badly by, I can't even tell you guys, and it's all been unfortunately deleted now, and I'm hoping to find like screen caps of it at some point.
Nice.
But like it was horrific the way he was bullied by these people over and over and over again. Thousands, tens of thousands of comments every single day. This person made his livelihood from this. And that's why he almost like he went to the hospital on suicide watch. And I'm frankly concerned because like one of the things that happened this weekend is another gay man in knitting in Minneapolis where his yarn store and his home where he lives with his older mother who has dementia blocks away from the riots. And all he did, so he was trying to manage, I'm sure he was trying to manage his stress and cope. So he posted a video from his yarn store. He put together like knitting kits for people saying, you know what, let's escape this reality and knit, which to me, that makes complete sense. Knitting is a Mikey, they have been relentless on him, for the past for all weekend. And I mean, he issued the first apology and I didn't see this right, and I was like, no,
never.
And then a lot of us kind of reached out. We were like, don't apologize again, don't do it again, because the first apology was like, I took it on the video, I'm so sorry. It was like a very real kind of like authentic, like, mea culpa, I didn't mean it that way, it wasn't my intent, whatever. No. So then he came back and issued a second apology that was like the typical SJW written apology.
Thank you for educating me.
Yeah, and even with the second apology,
for holding me accountable.
That's exactly what it is. And even with the second apology,
that's the modern day version of "Thank you, sir. May I have another?"
Well, and of course they didn't accept that one, and now they're kicking him out of all these major knitting events. Like major knitting events are kicking him out. Like I mean, Vogue Knitting Live, which is like the flagship knitting event that I've been to the last 2 years, where he always has a giant booth. I'm sure he makes a ton of money at Vogue Knitting Live. Gone, done. After the second apology. And I'm like, you know, I'm actually worried for him now, because not only is his city burning down, he's very close to the riots. Who knows if his business is even still intact? Like, I'm worried about that. And they don't think about this. It's all a goddamn game to them.
They do not care. They first they lie about you and lie about you. Then they disconnect you from everyone you care about. Then they take everything from you. They take your income, your career, your everything, and then they tell you that they're the good people, and love and hope and empathy.
I thank God every day after my article went viral, because I remember I was sitting on my couch downstairs, like, you know, a couple days after my article went viral, and I was watching Tim Pool's podcast, because it had just premiered then, the live thing that he does every night, and he had on Jack Murphy. Do you know about Jack Murphy?
Jack Murphy. Oh, that's the one who wrote that book?
Yeah, Democrat to Deplorable.
Yeah, I watched that.
Yeah, so as I'm watching this podcast with Jack Murphy, and for those of you who don't know who he is, he's basically like, he was a former Democrat that is now supporting Trump, but he essentially was fired from his job because he went to a protest and his picture got taken when he was within frame of someone that he didn't even know, but it was like the wrong person. It got posted on the internet. So he got fired from his job. And I'm sitting on my, like, this 2 days after my article is like already reached, like, you know, 2 million people or whatever, listening to this interview with Jack Murphy. And I start to figure out Jack Murphy got fired from one of my clients.
Oh, that's right. I remember you told me that.
Yeah. And I'm like, so at that moment, as I'm figuring this out, I'm like, how many clients am I going to lose over this? How many? And I started kind of doing math in my head. But long story short, like, I think I'm so grateful every day that, you know, I'm doing this stuff on YouTube now, that I'm able to speak my mind and at least generate some income from it. Because not only did I lose clients, and I gained clients too, thank God, but then also the pandemic hit, and then my business went to a standstill. You know, just everything got put on pause except for a few coaching contracts. And it was just like
no, this took, you know, that has honestly been a very hard part of all this the past couple months, is like, I had things lined up that were life-changing.
Yeah.
Gone overnight, gone. So that's been a big part of this, is just getting over that and being like, okay, I have to not care. I have to not think about what would have been. I just have to pick up the pieces. But it's been really difficult.
I totally relate.
And then being banned, and now being banned from Twitter, that it's like, it just feels so hopeless. It feels like no matter what, they control everything. They have so much power. And here's the thing too, is like I was saying before, how difficult it is to get people on our side to stick up for not just me, but any person who gets banned. Look at your TV right now. Look at everything happening right now. This is how the left, when they want something, this is what they do. They all get on the same page. They take to the streets. They'll burn fucking buildings down, and they get their way. So we could really learn a little something from them. Obviously not in terms of violence and rioting, but we could learn a few things from them. And I've been saying it for a long time that it is time to stop mocking the left and start learning from the left, because they stand by each other. They get their shit done.
Yeah. I mean, I will say too, what I've actually found conservative, like, here's the thing about the left though. They will throw you under the bus in a second.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They have no qualms about it. So I think they stick together when you're towing the line, but the minute you step out of line, it's like, boom.
I didn't mean they stand by each other. I meant they all repeat the same thing. Yeah. They get on the same page.
Well, and that's the problem with actually having thinking people, right?
True.
You're going to disagree.
But we can disagree, but we need to, because I'm not just talking about this one instance. This has been really a recurring theme over and over and over again. You know, even like with Walkaway, we do an event and it gets canceled and they throw a fit in the streets. Like, trying to get conservative media to cover that is like crickets chirping.
Oh, I bet. And speaking of Walkaway, I actually have a couple of questions about Walkaway. So this one, Jeanette is asked a long question, so there's a little bit of a ramp up to it. There are like a couple parts to it. Jeanette says, I walked away and want to say thank you to Mike. Learning about Walkaway is what helped confirm I knew I was on the right track in my own personal awakening. My questions are, what is the age demographic of Walkaway like? I would speculate it's mostly older millennials, Gen Xers like myself. And I guess what I really want to know is, are you seeing any trends of younger millennials and Zoomers walking away?
Definitely. I think that's the thing that's really kind of unique about Walkaway, is that in my experience, it spans every group of people. I mean, doing the events we've done, it's literally from like teenagers to old ladies. And not just that, but such a diverse mix of people, where we have bikers, we have punk rockers, we have drag queens, we have grandmas, we have every type of person. I will say something super encouraging. I live in New York City. It has happened 3 times in the past week that I was sitting on my stoop just chilling, and I overheard people walking by talking shit about the left and saying how it's a toxic ideology. One person said on the phone that you could tell he was being called a racist, and was saying how, like, well, I support the message, but I don't support any of it. Like, you could tell. And there were these 2 young Hispanic girls who were probably high schoolers or something walking by, and I heard her talking about how that's leftism. They're not liberal. It's a toxic ideology. And that's just good. 3 times in a week that I've just overheard shit like that. So I definitely think there's a change. You know, just recently, the past week, I really red-pilled a friend of mine who was like super lefty, because you have to remember that, like, it's not their fault, because you know, you think the media is honest. Leftist is just the default. Democrat is the default, and they don't know these things unless really the only way to find out the truth is to either seek it out for yourself or have a friend who will bring it to you.
No, I totally. I think that's really important for people to understand. Is like, you know, I didn't realize that I was being fed bullshit.
No, same.
You don't realize it. You really, and it's a couple of factors. And I actually have a live stream on my channel tomorrow at, what time is it? At 1 p.m. with Howard Asher, who's a psychotherapist. I've already done 1 live stream with him about Trump derangement syndrome. This is our 2nd live stream about it. And so Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing.
Oh, yes.
And you don't realize what's going on. And what Howard says is, like, it's part like laziness and part just like not understanding. And for me, it was like I was just working so much. I was working. I wasn't paying attention to the news. I wasn't fact checking everything. I was just like, okay, you know, whatever Rachel Maddow tells me is true.
Yep. And I think it's also part wishful thinking, because it must be so nice to just be able to pin every problem in the world on one person. all the world's evil, all our problems, all everything, to just put it up on a nice, neat little hanger. It's all Trump. It's all this one person.
Mm-hmm.
If only the real world were that simple.
No, I mean, and that's exactly it. It's like no person, no single human being, not the worst person that has ever lived, is wrong all the time.
Yeah.
That's not the way the world works. That's not the way anyone works. It's just absolutely insane. So how do you red pill someone, Mikey?
Well, with him, it was typically it you have to be persistent. It keeps trying. With this one, is very instantaneous. So this is a friend because here's the thing: with all of my friends who I've red pilled, I always knew the day would come because like the people who stopped speaking to me are just they're drinking the Kool-Aid. They are in the cult. But the friends of mine who were left-leaning but still didn't stop being friends with me and still you could tell that like they have a mind of their own. And the thing is, if you ever will have a thought that is your own, you can't coexist with these people. Like I said, it's just all control and conform and submission. So with this friend, we were hanging out and he was talking about like, oh, well, but Trump is terrible, but I hate Trump. And I was like, okay, let's talk about that. Not that you have to support Trump, but that's typically a starting place to at least understand the media. So I was like, okay, well, tell me all of the reasons why you hate Trump. And he was taken aback by that because so few people who hate Trump are ever asked that. Like I said, they just pin everything that they hate in the world on this one man. So they don't need a reason to hate him. But so he thought for a second and he gave me a few things and every single one of them wasn't true. He mocked the disabled reporter. He called Nazis good people. He did that. And so I was like, no, he didn't. Here's the video. Oh, well, he did this. No, he didn't. Here's the video. And I just showed him the raw footage and his jaw dropped. He had no clue and his mind was blown. And then he started researching things for himself and researching the truth and looking up statistics and looking up crime statistics and stuff. And I just kept sending him more information. Mm-hmm. And God, now he's like, this was like less than a week ago. Now he's like Captain Red Pill.
I mean,
and now he's being called a Nazi and a racist.
And now he really sees, doesn't he?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. Like when I went to the Trump rally, I had no intention of voting for Trump. I really didn't. And I even remember I actually posted my walkaway story in the Facebook group months before that.
I remember we knew each other before all this.
We did. And I didn't do a video. I just did a story because I was still feeling very, very self-conscious about the whole thing. And what I wrote in that story was like, I'm never voting for Trump. And everyone in the comments was like, yes, you will. And
that's what they said to me,
no. And I was like, oh, they were right. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, I'm starting to have a whole little collection of vampire babies that I've turned. I'm their vampire daddy.
I don't have the patience right now to turn people. I feel like I'm in a state where I'm very angry.
Random people.
What's that?
I don't know if they're like random people, but friends.
No, but even friends, I'm just like, I just have no patience. Like I've lost all patience with all of my friends this week when I was having the Antifa argument. I was like, I can't for my own sanity. I can't. Like you need to do your own research. I did my own research for months. You do your own research.
And that's what they say. That's one of their catchphrases.
Yeah, do your research. Well, I did do
research for you. And
the thing is too, like, and I don't know.
It's not my job to educate you.
Yeah. Okay. But like, they never have arguments. Is the thing. They never have arguments. Just he's bad. You're not like, dude, Mikey. Last night, I was literally watching live footage from Minneapolis last night, where I'm like, Antifa.
Oh, yeah.
I'm seeing right in front of me, and I was like in a Facebook discussion with someone where someone piped in that lives in Minneapolis, and her entire argument was, "Hi, I'm in Minneapolis. Cut it out." And I was like, "Living in Minneapolis is not an argument." And she was like, "I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. I live here." I was like, "That's not an argument.
I live in New York."
That's like literally not an argument.
So do a lot of people.
But she really could not wrap her head around the fact, like, why I wouldn't just believe her. And I was like, dude, I'm watching live footage from Minneapolis right now. I'm seeing Antifa right in front of me. She's like, well, you should call the cops then and tell them that white supremacists are out. I'm like, the cops are there.
Again, like I said, a lot of this is just with wishful thinking and comforting lies because it must be very comforting to think that the world is so simple and it's just black and white supremacists and the good people. It's ridiculous.
Well, and it's the only way, and this is what's this is what's going to cause an actual civil war, is like they really perceive that the only way to be a good person is to be on their team. Everyone else is a bad person. You're either with them or against them, and
that's what we used to believe.
Yeah, well, no, it's true. And like when you dehumanize a person to that extent, and then you add these stupid fucking masks on top of it.
I know.
I hate these things. I
love the one you made me though.
Yeah, the knitted.
Harlan knitted me a mask.
I knitted one for Joshua too, and he never got it. I have to knit him another one.
Aw.
Post office stole it. Whatever. You know what this mask is? This is a secret mask because it's mesh.
Oh yeah, I saw. You're literally killing people.
Yeah, I'm killing people. Right. Oh God, killing grandma.
I know, I was told that too. I'm killing grandmas. I'm like, well, then it's that bitch's fault that she went out, not mine.
I was like, both my grandmas are dead.
Mine too.
Dead already. Dead.
I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to push that bitch off the cliff myself.
Right.
Sorry.
Mikey, the last question that I have on my list, and of course we'll take any questions in the chat if you guys have questions, is from CL. And I think I know the answer to this, but I think it's a good one to kind of end on. Do you have any regrets walking away? And what is the best part of your walk away experience?
Ooh. Okay, so I'm going to be very honest. It would be very easy for me to just say, nope, no regrets, none. And ultimately my answer is no, but it's not something that I take as lightly. It's just, oh no, who cares? None. Because that would be dishonest to pretend that it hasn't been a very, very, very difficult road, and that there hasn't been every single day that I wonder if I've ruined my life, if I'm ever going to work again, if I'm ever going to be able to live a normal life, even when you're just, especially being in New York, even just when you're in a new situation with a new group of people that you meet and they all like you, and then they go to add you on Facebook or follow you on something, and it's like, oh, they're going to find out who you really are. So it's like, it's how being gay felt 20 years ago, that it's like you have to keep coming out to people and you're going to keep getting shit for it. And losing friends and stuff. However, I ultimately regret nothing, and I'm very happy that I have, because all of the friends that I've lost and stuff are people who friends I would have lost for some reason or another anyway. They weren't true friends, and the friends that you will make after walking away, after being yourself, are true friends. Are people like Carlin who really have your back and stand up for you and support, and you can support each other and have an honest relationship. And like I said, I know for me that there's just no way that I would have ever been able to get along with these people. I have a TV series that I wrote that we're going to, start filming it for my production company. But before all this, I was pitching it to different platforms and stuff, and we had some interest from Amazon. I got a letter from the Gay Defamation League saying, we will fight you every step of the way in getting this made. And it was a totally apolitical show, and I was a liberal Democrat at the time. So that's what I try to remind myself, is that it never would have worked out anyway. Even if I never said a word about politics, I could just never conform to these people. So yeah, I'm really happy. And here's another thing too, for anybody who is struggling with this, something that I try to remind myself also is that I'm old enough to remember a time where nobody was allowed to be against the war in Iraq. And now it's just common knowledge that that was a terrible thing. So I think if we all just really stay strong and don't apologize and don't capitulate and don't back down, that day will come for us too.
Mm-hmm. And I want to just put Intellectual Iconoclasm's chat up here. Please pass this along to Mike. Thanks so much for standing up for those of us who are loud and proud in our politics, but not just in our about our sexuality.
Oh, thank you so much.
No.
That's so nice.
And what's the best part of walking away?
Just being free to do whatever you want and think whatever you want. Like, I can't imagine if I still had to be around those people I used to know. I can't imagine, because like they would find offense in every little thing you say, things that are totally apolitical, things that would never occur to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I once got, when I was towards the end of my time being around people like that, there was this girl who was actually a writer for BuzzFeed who posted a thing on Facebook about Gwyneth Paltrow on Goop was selling like a $25,000 24 karat gold dildo. So I left a comment and I was like, oh my God, I thought this was The Onion. I can't believe that. She's ridiculous. And I had a dozen people, you're sexist, you're denigrating women, check your male privilege, you monster, you calling me every name in the world. So I'm like, just something as simple as that. Like, there's no way. So it's nice not having to deal with people like that.
Yeah.
And it's the best part of it also has been like getting to do all our events and stuff. And because even back when I was a liberal, something I've always been super passionate about is I could never stand the gay community, the LGBT community. Like, I've just always seen through it and for the scam that it is. Not just in terms of that, but also in terms of the self-destructive sort of gay culture. So that's something that I've always been super passionate about, is trying to be a voice to change that. So for me, that's the best part, and just making all these amazing friends and meeting people like you that like we never would have met otherwise.
No.
And Carrie and Carter and, you know.
Oh my God, it's the best. And there's a freedom to it as well. And like the freedom is something I wouldn't give up for anything. And you know what's funny is I've realized among my former friends, they're talking about me, like the story about me that I just keep hearing come up over and over again is I'm an angry attention whore.
Oh yeah, same.
And that's why I'm doing like I'm an incredibly angry person. I feel better than I have in years. I have never felt more alive. Being able to say what I want without fear of what's going to happen. It's like a game changer. It really is. I feel like the first part of my life, like it's almost like I feel like a different person.
Yeah. No, they love saying things that you can't disprove, because I get that was a big one about me. Oh, I want attention, which who the hell wants this kind of attention?
Right.
Like, or, you know, you've seen the screaming bald lady at one of our events. Like, I don't need that kind of attention, believe me.
Right.
But they love saying stuff like that you can't disprove, that you can't respond to, because what are you going to say? Nuh-uh, you know, you're self-hating, you want attention. It's just they're mind readers. They tell you what's inside your head.
Exactly.
Because there's no way to respond to that. There's no way to disprove it.
Curious says, tell Mikey hi for me. Been missing Twitter battles alongside him. I love Curious. Ryan actually has an interesting question. Who are the gay conservatives that inspired you and why?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mentioned him before, but Chad Felix Green is just so amazing. He was the OG. He was doing this before so many people like me and really blazed a trail. Not just in terms of politics, but he's spoken so much about things that he's been through in his life that I can relate to, and really talks about like the cultural side of the gay community. And he's been doing this for so long. He writes for a bunch of different places, but yeah, he's amazing. And there's so many people now, like my friend Ariel Scarcella is amazing. I think I
want to do a chat with her at some point.
Oh,
I keep forgetting because like and we DM back and forth on Twitter every now and again,
cool.
But I'm like, we have to, because we both left the left at the same time, and she did it purposefully and I did it accidentally. But
I did it accidentally too. That's well said. That's actually never occurred to me. Oh wait, I did this accidentally.
It was not a planned thing.
No, same.
So
I will say, I know he gets a lot of shit, but I loved Milo in the beginning. I think he sort of well, that's the thing. So I started watching him before he sort of like blew up. And I think he kind of changed a bit and just became like a caricature of himself. But when he was initially starting and like doing like 3-hour lectures with Christina Hoff Sommers and shit, I loved that, especially because he was one of the first people that I ever heard saying these things that I had felt forever about the gay culture.
Milo's very smart.
Oh yeah.
Very smart. Like I had no idea. Because he was one of the first people I listened to when I was thinking about when I was listening to voices I thought I would disagree with. And I'm like, you know, he's kind of a blowhard in some things, but he's also really on point about a lot of stuff.
And aside from everything, aside from whatever you or I might disagree with him with, I don't think that he deserves what he's gotten. No,
either.
Especially when actually horrible people don't.
Exactly.
And they shouldn't, but you know, like I feel like I've tried to learn the lessons of Milo, because I think like people were just so able to define him, and they turned his name into being just synonymous with like Hitler.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, most people who hate Milo, they have no idea why they hate him.
No, none.
No idea. All right, so Aiden has a question for me and then a question for you. So we're going to do my question first. And this is a question I get a lot, which is why I'm addressing it. Carlin, do they ever blame Victor for your change? So Victor, like, so
Ooh, good question.
It is a good question, because here's the thing that people, like, I didn't realize how conservative my own husband is until I left the left.
Well, he's from a communist country, of course. Like, who wouldn't be?
Well, he is, but he's also like, you know, Victor is like, he doesn't care on a lot of things, but we just never talked about politics. It was kind of like, he just doesn't care. Like, I would have MSNBC on and be talking about how great Rachel Maddow is, and he'd be like on his phone being like, yep.
That's awesome.
But I mean, immigrants, like people who go through the immigration system, it makes people very conservative about immigration. I'll tell you what.
Yeah, that's very true.
So I don't know if people blame Victor, and they shouldn't blame Victor, because literally Victor and I never talked about politics. So that'd be silly.
No, but it's like how they do. They're everything that they accuse other people of, because that's I've seen them do that a lot. That your husband is in. Hillary Clinton said that she was like, oh, women voted against me because their husbands and boyfriends told them to. Like, they are everything that they accuse people of. They always project, because that's a pretty sexist thing to think and say.
Yeah, no,
you're just doing what your husband says.
Well, right, and if there's anyone, I mean, and you'll understand this if you ever meet Victor, if there's anyone that wears the pants in our family, it is not my husband. I'm sorry, and I love my husband, and my husband is the perfect balance to me, and he's like the most mild-mannered guy in the world. But if there's anyone who's telling who to vote in a certain way, me.
Oh, I want to meet him.
I'm sure you will someday. Aiden also has a question for you. Have you noticed how some LGBT activists have become exactly like the bullies that went after them? Yeah.
Thank you. No, okay, I swear. It's like the fat kid in school who goes away for the summer and loses all the weight and becomes really hot and then becomes the bitchy cheerleader. That is the LGBT community.
That's exactly
exactly what they are. And like I was saying before, look at the instance of Wilson Gavin if you doubt just the magnitude of what massive bullies they are. Or somebody, I can't remember her name at the moment, but somebody just the other day was telling me about this story of this woman who was bullied by these LGBT activists, and she killed herself because I think she was like a porn star, and she said that she didn't want to do porn with gay guys, which is absolutely her right. And they bullied her to death that she killed herself because of that.
So
I think her name was August something.
Well, and like, I mean, I studied bullying in organizations, right? And what we see is that the number one people that are likely to become bullies in the workplace are people who've been bullied in the workplace. It is a self-perpetuating thing, and I'm sure that's true of all bullying. I can't imagine that's exclusive to the workplace.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, were you ever like bullied? Because I feel like we're not really
yeah.
See, for me, I feel like I like never let that shit. Like, if people tried to bully me, they would try once and never again, because I would like shut that shit down. But I think a lot. What my point is, I think a lot of those people are just so deeply insecure.
Yeah. Well,
and that's what manifests as pride and all these other things. Is just their insecurity.
Oh, I totally agree. And you know what the worst part of it for me is, I mean, obviously I have a strong personality. I've always had a strong personality, but I was convinced that I always would get this feedback. I mean, this probably from the time I was a little kid all the way up until like, I mean, basically when I worked for myself, that I was like a horrible, mean person because I had a strong personality. And so I was always actually incredibly self-conscious about it. And there was a long time that I very much silenced myself. I didn't express what I was thinking because I was like, people aren't going to like me if I say what I'm thinking.
Yeah. You know? Oh, same. No, well, the thing is, like, I never felt that way myself. It's that other people make you feel that way. That, oh, you're an asshole. I'm like, no, I'm just honest.
Well, it's the same thing. I get
like, I'm an honest asshole.
I mean, it was the same thing with me getting called angry, because I get called angry literally all the time now. I'm like, I'm not angry. I'm like the least angry person you're ever going to meet in your life. like, I just don't care most of the time. I meditate like a motherfucker and I deal with it, you know?
Yeah.
Leia asks, is Victor more open with his views now that you veered right? I mean, I think he's a little bit more open. Like, we were talking last night and he was like, Carlin, I watch YouTube like constantly. I know all the Ben Shapiro stuff. And I was like, okay.
I got the good shit. That's what my friend that I read was saying. He was like, we got to like go into a dark alleyway in trench coats and you'll give me the good shit. The Ben Shapiro stuff.
Exactly.
The Ben Shapiro videos.
Oh my gosh. All right, guys. Do you have any other questions? I think I think I got all of them that I can see. Oh, Kate. Well, no, I don't want to put that on the screen. Sorry, KB. I'm not putting that one on the screen.
Can only imagine what that was.
Something about Milo calling himself a dangerous.
Oh, yeah, they won't like that.
No.
But yeah, no, I was just gonna say, just to go back to the Twitter thing for a second before we wrap up. But yeah, so if you guys can, please tweet about it, tag Twitter support, and the hashtag people have been using is free Mike Harlow. So if you guys can just tweet about it, and because like I was saying, other than Carlin, other than Brandon, other than Carrie and Carter with Unsafe Space, who are the best, it's very difficult to get people with the big platforms to give a shit, to talk about it. It's like crickets. I text them and suddenly they don't text me back. So yeah, please tweet about it if you can. Today, this happened over the weekend, so it's Monday. So I was thinking today maybe I would see a response from the Better Business Bureau or something, but that hasn't happened yet. Let's see. Yeah, I think still nothing. So Twitter just like ignored my appeals.
Well, of course they did. And guys, just so you know, like, I mean, listen, like, we need to make as much of a ruckus about this as we can, because the thing of it is it's not just about getting Twitter's attention, which is enough, but it's also about trying to get the attention of other people who think that this BS is unfair. And honestly,
and people who say it's not happening. There is no censorship.
And people who say it's not happening. And so the thing of it is like, the more attention we can give to this, at least it shows that we're trying. And that's what matters. At the end of the day, what always matters is the effort that you put into something. It is not necessarily how other people respond to it, because if you just keep doing what you know is right, then hopefully eventually it'll turn into the response that you want. But you can't control, you can't say, I'm just not going to try because Twitter's not going to listen. Like, that's bullshit.
Yeah. And it's I just hope I can fight this and that it won't take 6 months, because that would really suck to not have a voice in the dialogue during the election.
Exactly.
But then the thing is, we need this. That's the same ferocity that we need to have for every person who gets banned. It doesn't matter if we like them. It doesn't matter. And you, Carly, like, you aren't just like, you walk the walk. Even someone like Caitlin Bennett that you defended when she was being assaulted, and I fucking hate Caitlin Bennett. I hate Caitlin Bennett, but I will defend her any moment of the day.
Exactly. No one deserves to have an angry mob come after them simply because they're asking a question.
Absolutely,
it's just not cool.
Like, if I can defend Caitlin Bennett, y'all can defend way easier.
Exactly. Like, you only, like, you show that you're taking a principled stance when you stick up for people that you don't agree with. That's
the contender.
Like the contender, which I was just thinking about today. Actually, again, I was thinking about it.
I keep quoting that since you saw it. I was telling my roommate we gotta watch it.
I want to watch it. I want to go watch it now.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm gonna do my own plug. Manuel says, I subscribed. Guys, if you like the video, if you're enjoying it, please subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to grow my audience. Turn on those notifications. If you think you're subscribed, subscribe to Mike Harlow's channel.
I should say I'm gonna step up my channel, especially now, and do a lot more videos, because I've been behind on it.
You should. Don't like worry so much about it, man. Just put out content. Like, just you talking about what you believe in is good.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, I'm gonna have like new videos coming very soon.
So where can people find you in the meantime? How can they get in touch if they want to?
Right now, Instagram, I guess. My Instagram is Sleepy Harlow, or I have Facebook, Mike Harlow. Hopefully I will be able to beat Twitter again. I don't think there's ever been somebody who got a permanent ban undone twice. So I'm looking to be the first one.
You're going to be the first one. Well, if there's anyone that can do it, you can do it.
Oh, thank you.
I know if people tweet with the hashtag to get people's attention and do what they can to help him, that, you know, it'll happen, man. I have faith. Always have faith.
It's just to say, and like I said, like it's not about me. It is that they keep doing this to so many people whose names we don't know, people who we know nothing about. They continue doing this to person after person after person, and eventually there will be nobody left.
Yeah.
Except,
exactly.
you know, radical leftists and white supremacists, because those are the only two things they want you to see.
Exactly. Yeah, we have to let people see sane voices.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Is there anything else you want to put out there before we conclude, Mikey?
Oh, just that I love you and thank you so much
Aw.
for making your videos, because like I said, it really is pulling teeth with a lot of these free speech people.
Well, anything that I can do to help. And guys, if you ever get banned on a platform, you just let me know. And like I will run my mouth.
Aw.
Ad nauseum. And we will do a road trip sometime to Texas.
Yes, I can't wait. I gotta get my license. And yeah, basically just tweet a lot about I just broke a Winnie the Pooh mug.
Oh!
Damn it. It was that friggin' owl.
Boo. That's okay. But tweet free Mike Harlow and hope that he doesn't, you know, step on a piece of glass after this is done.
But yes, free Mike Harlow and Tigger now too.
And Tigger now too. All right, Mikey. Well, thank you for spending some time with me.
Thank you so much. It's so good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, just so you know, so I have 2 live streams tomorrow. 2 live streams at 1 o'clock with Howard Asher. We're going to be talking, who is a psychotherapist, and we're going to be talking about the what Trump derangement syndrome actually is, not as a joke, but as a real live thing that is actually impacting the world as we know it. And then at 9:30 tomorrow night, like clockwork, Joshua and I will be back for Nothing Remotely Controversial. Yes. It is going to be a little bit more of a serious episode. We're going to talk about how to maintain your mood in all of this insanity, because we think it's really important. And Joshua has really helped me with that over the years I've been working with him. And so we're going to help you guys with that as well.
Sexually harassed him for me.
I'll do my best. I'll let him know that it's coming from you and not from me.
Molest him on my behalf.
I'll do my best. All right, Mikey. Well, thank you again for coming on.
I like to tell you that Tigger is okay.
Tigger is okay. Well, that's the most you can hang that up on the wall now. Like put a hanger on it. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Carl, and I love you. Like, we gotta hang out in person soon.
We will. Don't worry about it.